Radha Shri Śrīmad His Divine Grace Abhay Charanarvind Vedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupāda ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajkacharya Ashtottara Shata Shri Śrīmad His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Śrīla Prabhupāda ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai. Namacharya Śrīla Haridas Thakur ki Jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कुंड बिहारी गोपी गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिवर्धन की जय। श्री श्री देव सदन मंदिर की जय। डियर मोस्ट मर्सिफुल लॉर्डशिप श्री श्री राधा कुंड बिहारी की जय। श्री जगन्नाथ श्री बलदेव श्री सुभद्रा माई की जय। श्री श्रीनाथ जी बाल गोपाल गिरिवर्धन की जय। श्री श्री गौरताय की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद्-भागवतम की जय। हरे कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा। Welcome to ISKCON Detroit Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam morning class. So today we are reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 17, entitled Punishment and Reward of Kali, Text 10 and 11. So let us start with invocation prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat. Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistikim Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. So, welcome to ISKCON Detroit Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam morning class. So, reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 17, entitled Punishment and Reward of Kali. So, today we will see texts 10 and 11. Yasya rashtre praja sarvas trasyante sadve asadhubihi tasya mattasya nashyanti kirtir ayur bhagogati esha rajñam paro dharmo Artanamarti nigraha ata enam vadisyami bhuta druham asattamam. So let us go word by word. Yasya, one whose, rashtre, in the state, praja, living beings, sarva, one and all, trasyante, are terrified, sadvi, O chaste one, asadhubihi, by the miscreants, tasya, is, mattasya, of the illusion, nashyanti, vanishes, kirti, fame, ayu, duration of life, bhaga, fortune, gati, good rebirth, esha, these are, Rajnam, of the kings, para, superior, dharma, occupation, he, certainty, artanam, of the sufferers, arti, sufferings, nigraha, subduing, ata, therefore, enam, this man, vadishyami, I shall kill, bhuta druham, revolter against other living beings, asattamam, the most wretched. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanarvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupāda. Śrīla Prabhupāda ki jai. Translation. O chaste one, the king's good name, duration of life, good rebirth, vanish all kinds of living beings are terrified by miscreants in his kingdom. It is certainly the prime duty of the king to subdue first the sufferings of those who suffer. Therefore, I must kill this most wretched man because he is violent against other living beings. Please repeat. O chaste one, the king's good name, duration of life, and good rebirth vanish when all kinds of living beings are terrified by miscreants in his kingdom. It is certainly the prime duty of the king to subdue first the sufferings of those who suffer. Therefore, I must kill this most wretched man because he is violent against other living beings. Purport. When there is some disturbance caused by wild animals in a village or town, the police or others take action to kill them. Similarly, it is the duty of the government to kill at once all bad social elements such as thieves, dacoits and murderers. The same punishment is also due to animal killers because the animals of the state are also the prajā. Prajā means one who has taken birth in the state, and this includes both men and animals. Any living being who takes birth in a state has the primary right to live under the protection of the king. The jungle animals are also subject to the king, and they also have a right to live. So what to speak of domestic animals like cows and bulls? Any living being, if he terrifies other living beings, is a most wretched subject, and the king should at once kill such a disturbing element. As the wild animal is killed when it creates disturbances, similarly, any man who unnecessarily kills or terrifies the jungle animals or other animals must be punished at once. By the law of Supreme Lord, all living beings, in whatever shape they may be, are the sons of the Lord, and no one has any right to kill another animal unless it is so ordered by the courts of natural law. The tiger can kill a lower animal for his subsistence, but a man cannot kill an animal for his subsistence. That is the law of God, who has created the law that a living being subsists by eating another living being. Thus, the vegetarians are also living by eating other living beings. Therefore, the law is that one should live only by eating specific living beings as ordained by the law of God. The Upanishad directs that one should live by the direction of the Lord and not at one's sweet will. A man can subsist on varieties of grains, fruits and milk ordained by God, and there is no need of animal food save and except in particular cases. The illusioned king or executive head, even though sometimes advertised as a great philosopher and or learned scholar, will allow slaughterhouses in the state without knowing that torturing poor animals clears the way to hell for such foolish kings or executive heads. The executive head must always be alert to the safety of the prajas, both man and animal, and inquire whether a particular living being is harassed at any place by another living being. The harassing living being must at once be caught and put to death, as shown by Mahārāja Parīkṣit. The people's government, or government by the people, should not allow killing of innocent animals by the sweet will of foolish government men. They must know the courts of God, as mentioned in the revealed scriptures. Mahārāja Parīkṣit quotes here that according to the courts of God, the irresponsible king or state executive jeopardizes his good name, duration of life, power and strength, and ultimately his progressive march towards a better life and salvation after death. Such foolish men do not even believe in the existence of a next life. While commenting on this particular verse, we have in our presence the statement of a great modern politician who has recently died and left his will, which discloses his poor fund of knowledge of the courts of God, mentioned by Mahārāja Parīkṣit. The politician was so ignorant of the courts of God that he writes, "I do not believe in such ceremonies, and to submit to them, even as a matter of form, would be hypocrisy and an attempt to delude ourselves and others. I have no religious sentiment in the matter. Contrasting these statements of a great politician in the modern age with those of Mahārāja Parīkṣit, we find a vast difference. Mahārāja Parīkṣit was pious according to the scriptural codes, whereas the modern politician goes by his personal belief and sentiments. Any great man of the material world is, after all, a conditioned soul. He is bound by his hands and feet by the ropes of material nature. And still, the foolish conditioned soul thinks of himself as free to act by his whimsical sentiments. The conclusion is that people in the time of Mahārāja Parīkṣit were happy, and the animals were given proper protection because the executive head was not whimsical or ignorant of God's law. Foolish, faithless creatures try to avoid the existence of the Lord and proclaim themselves secular at the cost of valuable human life. The human life is especially meant for knowing the signs of God, but foolish creatures, especially in this age of Kali, instead of knowing God scientifically, make propaganda against religious belief as well as the existence of God. Even though they are always bound by the laws of God, by the symptoms of birth, death, old age and disease. Om Ajnanati Mirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsta Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Ragunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamsta He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyamadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gauravakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Śrīla Prabhupāda ki jai, Jagannath Baldev Subhadra ki jai, Jai Shri Dāsa Gopal Giri Govardhan ki jai, Jai Shri Shri Gauratai ki jai. Hare Krishna. So, yesterday we have seen how Mahārāja Parīkṣit gives assurance to cow and bull that, O son of Surabhi, you need lament no longer now. There is no need to fear this low-class Shudra. O mother cow, as long as I am living as the ruler and subduer of all envious men, there is no cause for you to cry. Everything will be good for you. So he gives assurance. And today we see as O chaste one, the king's good name, duration of life and good rebirth vanish when all kinds of living beings are terrified by miscreants in his kingdom. It is certainly the prime duty of the king to subdue first the sufferings of those who suffer. Therefore, Parīkṣit Maharaj says that I must kill this most wretched man because he is violent against other living beings. See how immediately death sentence of punishment is given for those who just act violently towards other living beings. Imagine how many death sentences could be awarded in this age if it under Mahārāja Parīkṣit rule. So today we're gonna see a genuine leader does not simply govern the powerful. He especially protects those who protect themselves. So we are continuing this conversation between Mahārāja Parīkṣit and Kali, and Parīkṣit is during his kingdom when he encounters something completely unacceptable. A man dressed like a king is beating a bull representing Dharma and a cow representing Mother Earth. The transcript thus emphasizes something important about Parīkṣit Maharaj. He did not remain comfortably seated in his palace. When he learned that irreligion had entered his kingdom, he personally went out to examine the condition of his citizens. So, a responsible leader does not wait for suffering to arrive at his doorstep. He actively asks, are those under my care properly protected? Are they in a safe condition or not? So in previous verses, Parīkṣit reassured the cow and bull to not fear. But now an important question may arise. Why is Parīkṣit Maharaj taking this so personally? Why should the emperor become concerned because one cow and one bull are being attacked? So today's verse will give us the answer. So the verse 10, Mahārāja Parīkṣit says that if living beings are terrified by miscreants within a ruler's kingdom and the ruler fails to protect them, 4 things are destroyed: Kirti, Ayu, Bhaga, Gati. Kirti means good name, Ayu means his duration of life, Bhaga means his fortune and opulence, and Gati refers to his future spiritual destination. This is something remarkable. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam does not judge leadership simply by either economic development, military strength, wealth, popularity, infrastructure, etc. It just asks are the living beings under your care are protected or not? And verse 11 says that Esha Ragnam Paro Dharmo Hi Artanam Arti Nigraha. The supreme duty of kings is to relieve the suffering of those who suffer. When we notice the word Paro Dharma, it is not an optional duty or it is not a secondary duty. It is presented as the highest duty of leadership. And when we normally think of a powerful leader, what comes to our mind? What qualities will come to our mind? We think that, he might be having so much authority, so much influence, had very great intelligence, much wealth, courage and ability to make decisions. But according to this verse, what is the first qualification? That is protection. Giving protection is the first and foremost quality of an ideal king. A leader is powerful so that those who have less power can feel safe and protected under his shelter. So today we're going to see briefly on 2 sections that who is my prajā? Leadership means protecting the helpless. And next is power without dharma becomes dangerous. So first comes first is who is my prajā? Leadership means protecting the helpless. Śrīla Prabhupāda expands the meaning of citizen. One of the strongest statements in today's purport is the definition of prajā. As a long purport, Prabhupada explains prajā means one who has taken birth within the state. So whatever might be, not only human beings, but every living entity. Therefore it includes human beings, cows, bulls, domestic animals, jungle animals, other living beings also. If an animal is born within the land, that animal also comes under the ruler's protection. And this gives us a completely different definition of civilization. And this is not specifically like how are the human citizens doing? No. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam asks, how are all the living beings doing who are taking shelter under you? This, there is a beautiful analogy that is one of the lecture of this from Radheshyam Prabhu. So, suppose someone has a younger brother who becomes physically disabled. He cannot work, he cannot earn money. From a purely economic perspective, somebody might call him a burden, right? Everybody, like, oh, he's not earning or he's not doing anything, he's just staying at home, and many people may question that. But could the own family member say like, since you are no longer economically productive, we should get rid of you? Of course, they will not say that. They think that he is our family member, therefore we'll protect him. And this is, now we will connect with the cow analogy, cow in our sloka. We cannot value the cow only while she is economically productive and then abandon or kill her when that productivity decreases. Materialistic calculation asks, what can you give me? But Dharma asks, what is my responsibility towards you? That is the difference between exploitation and protection. And when we ask question that do we sometimes evaluate people in the same way according to how useful they are to us? Someone helps me and we may call him as a wonderful person, awesome, he is very friendly, he is very helpful, wonderful devotee. And someone cannot help me, oh, I don't have time. People may think like, oh, he may not have time or he is not willing to support. But spiritual consciousness asks that, how does Kṛṣṇa see this living entity? In the vision of Kṛṣṇa, how this living entity is. So, today we see why is the cow especially significant? Because Śrīla Prabhupāda's argument applies to all living beings. But this also raises one question that why is the cow particularly dear within the Vaishnava culture? Because Mother Cow has a very intimate connection with Supreme Lord Kṛṣṇa. Something becomes especially sacred because of its relationship with the Lord. If something has a most intimate connection and most loving relationship with the Lord, then it will be more valuable to each and every one of us. For example, River Ganga is sacred because of her relationship with the Lord. Hill Govardhana is sacred because of Kṛṣṇa's intimate pastimes over there. Vrindavana is sacred because Kṛṣṇa performed his pastimes there. And Tulsi Maharani is worshipable because she is extraordinarily dear to Supreme Lord Kṛṣṇa. Similarly, cows are also extraordinarily connected with Kṛṣṇa when we see his pastime, Vrindavan pastimes. Many of his childhood pastimes are much connected with cows. Even Kṛṣṇa has a name as Govinda. One of the Kṛṣṇa's most celebrated name is Govinda. When gopis remember Kṛṣṇa, the name Govinda naturally arises. The Lord associated with and protector of the cows. The Supreme Personality of Godhead possesses unlimited opulence, yet when He descends in His most intimate Vrindavan pastimes, what does He do? What did He do? He becomes a cowherd boy. He goes behind the cows, He calls them, He protects them, He plays His flute among them. Therefore, cow protection is not just an economic concept, but it has a deep relationship with the Krishna's own Vrindavan transcendental pastimes. So when we see in Brahma Samhita, Chintamani prakara sadmashu kalpa vriksha laksha vriteshu surabhir abhipalayantam. Here we see the significance of surabhir abhipalayantam. Govinda tends unlimited surabhi cows in the spiritual world. Therefore, even in Golok Vrindavan, we find this beautiful relationship between Kṛṣṇa and the cows. So when Parīkṣit Maharaj sees a cow being beaten, he is not simply seeing an animal being harmed. He is seeing a living being that belongs to Kṛṣṇa being tortured. And that we even see in this purport and describes the tenderness with which the residents of Vraja think about Kṛṣṇa's feet as he walks behind the cows. We can meditate that Supreme Lord, whom everyone follows his cows. The Lord, whom everyone wants to serve, serves and protects his cows. The Lord, whom everyone wants to please, takes pleasure in caring for his cows. So, what can we take from this? Greatness is demonstrated through service and protection, but not domination. And this is exactly the mood Mahārāja Parīkṣit inherits. Go Raksha is protection, and it is not just merely maintenance. This also emphasizes on an important concept of Go Raksha. Raksha means protection. When we recollect one of the incidents of Śrīla Prabhupāda's preference for describing the principle as cow protection rather than just cattle raising. So why is this distinction meaningful? Because one can raise an animal for eventual slaughter. But protection means I accept responsibility for your safety throughout your life. That is a relationship. So, another good observation that we can take from this lecture is that domestic animals live in human society and contribute in different ways. Historically, bulls assist in agriculture, cows provide milk and other products, horses transport people, and donkeys are used to carry loads, and other domestic animals lived alongside humans. When an animal lives under human shelter, humans acquire a responsibility toward that creature rather than a license to exploit it. I'm looking after it. I have a unlimited license to exploit how much ever I want. No, this is not the thing that we have to look upon. If we are taking the shelter, you have to give protection, but instead you should not exploit it. So if we take an analogy that if someone who visits your home and takes shelter for a few days, you tell him, you will give him assurance that, oh, don't worry, stay here, I will protect you. And he begins trusting in you. One day, you harm him precisely because he trusted you. Would that not be worse than harming a stranger? So similarly, domesticated animals live under human control. Therefore, greater control means greater responsibility along with greater protection. So, and this verse is not only about cow protection, but the principle is much bigger. Śrīla Prabhupāda says all living beings are prajā. So ask, who are the helpless people around us? Maybe some homeless people, children, like elderly people, someone financially struggling, a newcomer in devotional life, someone emotionally discouraged, animals, someone who cannot speak for themselves. And the principle of Parīkṣit is, the stronger should protect the weaker, but should not exploit them. So, prajā includes all living beings under the ruler's care. And dharma does not calculate the worth of a living entity merely by economic productivity. Every living entity ultimately belongs to Kṛṣṇa. Cows have an especially intimate relationship with Kṛṣṇa, who is celebrated as Govinda. Go Raksha means genuine protection, not just maintaining an animal while it is useful. Greater power over another living being means greater responsibility toward that living being. And a practical question may rise like, who has Kṛṣṇa placed within my ability to protect? Who has given to me by Kṛṣṇa to protect? You just have to look around. So, next comes is like, power without dharma becomes dangerous. We see now how practical is that situation right now. How the power without following dharma according to rules and regulations and according to scriptures, how it is dangerous to other nations as well as their own nations. There might be economic crisis, or there might be hunger issues, or many problems. There might be inflations, as we see now across the globe, how many countries are suffering from inflation. Because the consequences for the ruler who permits that suffering. Because if the ruler is not pious, or if he does not follow as per the scriptures, then whole kingdom has to suffer a lot. The greater the authority, the greater is the responsibility. A leader who does not know the proper direction can mislead thousands or even millions of people. Therefore, leadership without knowledge is dangerous. People need spiritual guidance. Powerful rulers traditionally accepted guidance from people trained in Dharma. Examples include kings taking counsel from qualified spiritual advisors because decisions of rulers affect entire populations. And the underlying principle is power should never become its own source of morality. And also, Śrīla Prabhupāda has warned in his purport that my own sweet will. Śrīla Prabhupāda strongly criticizes acting according to one's own sweet will or according to one's own whimsical sentiments. Why? What could be the reason? Because the conditioned soul is not absolutely independent. He is dependent on something, and he is dependent on Supreme Lord Kṛṣṇa for everything. He gets everything from Kṛṣṇa. Someone may say that, oh, I don't believe in karma. But karma does not depend upon our belief. Someone may say like, oh, I don't believe in old age, but old age still comes. Someone may say like, oh, I don't believe in death, but one day they have to meet death. Death does not ask for our philosophical opinion. So God laws are not created by our belief, and they do not disappear because of our disbelief. Freedom means when we can choose our action. Freedom does not mean we can choose the consequences. Śrīla Prabhupāda specifically refers to Sri Isopanishad in this purport. Isha Vashyam Idam Sarvam. Everything belongs to the Supreme Lord. Therefore, question should not simply be, can I use this? But the question should be, how does Kṛṣṇa want this to be used? And material consciousness says that, oh, this is mine, that is mine, I want to use for me, and I want to use for my own sense gratification. But spiritual consciousness says, oh, this belongs to Kṛṣṇa. I have temporarily been entrusted with it. I have just been a caretaker for this short period of time. And that may include some wealth, some intelligence, position, family, nature, animals, or our own body. So here there is an important point that Śrīla Prabhupāda discusses eating. One living being survives to another living being. Plants are also alive. Therefore, principle cannot simply be never consume another form of life. The question becomes, who has God authorized human beings to accept? Like, what human beings have to consume? What has God authorized? And in chapter 9, text 16, we see, Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhaktya prayasthati. Kṛṣṇa accepts a leaf, flower, fruit and water when offered with devotion. Therefore, devotees gradually change the question from what do I feel like eating to what can I offer to Kṛṣṇa. That is a profound spiritual transformation and which is very much essential to us in this modern age. What is the difference between, now one may think like, oh, I am eating sattvic food. What is the difference between that food and prasadam? Because food is centered around, I want to enjoy, oh, I want to eat for myself. I wanted to gratify my senses. But prasadam begins with first let Kṛṣṇa enjoy, and then we receive His mercy in the form of prasadam. This is how this own sweet will mentality will begin to disappear when we start giving our free will to Kṛṣṇa, and when we start offering prasadam, offering bhoga, and taking it, honoring it as prasadam, our consciousness slowly changes. It may not happen in 1 day or 10 days or 1 month or 3 months, but even naturally, slowly as you go on having only prasadam, one day your consciousness will be entirely changed. Just that prasadam has that Kṛṣṇa's mercy and has a greater power to change our consciousness. Human life means asking higher questions. We know, like, what is the purpose of human life? Atato Brahma Jignasa. To inquire about the absolute truth. Right? So, leadership begins with leading ourselves. Before ruling a country, we have been given a smaller kingdom of our own life. We need to ask, like, who is ruling my consciousness? Either it is influenced by Kṛṣṇa's instruction, or is it by my own sweet will? Our mind may always say like, sleep. But Shastra says that use this valuable human life for spiritual advancement. Sometimes our mind says like, oh, just become angry on that person. But Kṛṣṇa says that develop the tolerance. And sometimes our mind may say, oh, enjoy this, it's okay, it's okay, it's common now, it's enjoy, you can drink that, you can eat that, enjoy. But Bhakti says, serve Kṛṣṇa and try to accept it as prasadam from Him. Also, our mind may constantly think like, oh, what do I want? How do I enjoy? What can I take from that person, this person? But devotee asks, what will please Kṛṣṇa? How can I serve that person to get closer to Kṛṣṇa consciousness? Therefore, the first kingdom we must learn to govern is our own consciousness. Our own consciousness is the first kingdom that we can control. So, greater authority means greater accountability. Leadership without dharma can magnify suffering. Power must be guided by higher principles, not just personal opinions. We are free to choose our actions, but not free from their consequences. Human beings have the intelligence to inquire about dharma. Spiritual education teaches not just how to gain power, but how to use it responsibly. Before trying to lead others, we must learn to govern our own consciousness. Or before trying to preach others or train others, you have to be very mindful and very practical with your consciousness first. The highest protection is ultimately helping living entities to reconnect with Kṛṣṇa, Supreme Personality of Godhead Kṛṣṇa, Śrī Radha Kunj Bihari. So, we will conclude today's class by stating few takeaways, and so we have seen Mother Earth is crying, Dharma is standing helplessly, Kali is attacking them, Mahārāja Parīkṣit stops, and he could have said like, oh, I am a great emperor, someone else can deal with this, but instead his consciousness says that, oh, they are under my protection, I have to protect them, it's my responsibility. And this one sentence summarizes the mood of these verses. And some of the final takeaways for today are, true leadership asks like, who needs my protection? Whom can I serve more? Who has Kṛṣṇa entrusted to my care? Never measure a living being only by usefulness. The helpless brother analogy that we have seen today gives us a most memorable lesson. Before asking society to follow Dharma, ask whether I follow Kṛṣṇa, whether you are following Kṛṣṇa's instructions properly or not. And Yesha Rajna Paro Dharma, protection of those who suffer is the supreme responsibility of leadership. Prajā includes all living beings under one's care. A civilized society protects the weak rather than exploiting their weakness. Cows are generally dear in Vaishnava culture because of their intimate connection with Govinda. Go Raksha means genuine protection. And greater power brings greater responsibility and accountability. Human intelligence is meant for understanding Dharma, not just increasing our capacity for enjoyment. Leadership must be guided by God's laws rather than my own sweet will. Every devotee has some sphere of responsibility. The highest welfare activity is to help living entities to reconnect, to get more and more closer to Kunj Bihari, Śrī Radha Kunj Bihari. So, the final question that we have to ponder upon is, Mahārāja Parīkṣit protected an entire kingdom. We may not have a kingdom, but Kṛṣṇa has certainly placed someone or something under our care. Who is one living being whom I can protect, encourage, serve, or bring closer to Kṛṣṇa this week? So think about that, and whomever you find under your protection, under your care, that you can bring closer to Kṛṣṇa, try to act in that direction. We may never sit on the throne of Mahārāja Parīkṣit, but every day we are given opportunities to develop the consciousness of Mahārāja Parīkṣit. Whenever we see someone weaker and think, how can I protect them? Rather than how can I use them? We are moving towards Dharma. And whenever we replace what do I want with what does Kṛṣṇa wants, we are moving from the influence of Kali towards the shelter of Kṛṣṇa. Initially you may not able to recognize properly, but one day when we realize what we are doing, And when we get through Krishna's mercy, we will be able to understand, okay, this is the right path that I am going. This is the path I am going to assume. And this path which I travel in this path leads to spiritual abode of Krishna, Golok Vrindavan. So let us all try to be sincere in our endeavors, in our sadhana, and in our whatever service we do, or whatever even preaching to others, first practicing by ourselves, because by seeing us, just by our actions and behavior, many people may get influenced. So I would like to conclude today's class by this. If you have any questions, comments, realizations, please. And please forgive me if I misspoke anything. Grantra Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupāda ki jai, Hare Kṛṣṇa. So, I would like to make a quick announcement, like next week, coming Saturday, on 22nd August, we celebrate Troy Rath Yatra and Bulan Park, Troy. So, I would like to invite, on behalf of ISKCON Detroit, we would like to invite everyone, each and everyone, for that amazing Rath Yatra, Festival of Chariots. So please bring your friends and family, and together collectively we'll be experiencing the blissful mercy of Lord Jagannath. Jagannath Rath Yatra ki jai. Hare Kṛṣṇa.